nightmares and dreams too.
That's right.
And I'm laughing. That was a good one.
That is true. There are all kinds of dreams.
This meeting is being recorded.
We're on.
Are we ready to go then? Let's rock and roll. Okay, we'll call the meeting to order, and the first order of business is the oath of office.
It is. So, if all of you, if you would like to stand, raise your right hand if you would like, and then repeat after me. I, please state your name,
I, Joni Truex,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the state of Indiana,
and the state of Indiana,
and that I will faithfully, honestly, and impartially discharge the duties of the office of Kosciuszko County Redevelopment Commissioner
Kosciuszko County Redevelopment Commissioner,
according to the law
according to the law,
and to the best of my skill and ability.
and to the best of my skill and ability.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being willing to serve another year in the Redevelopment Commission.
You were kind. You did that well.
Thank you, ma'am.
Here you go.
Oh, we got fancy
Good
paper.
meeting. Yes.
I didn't think she's going to date him.
Okay. So the next order of business is the election of officers, and that is for president, vice president, and secretary.
Need a motion?
Or, yeah, discussion, motion, whatever you want.
Well,
Discussion?
based on,
Did you have yours on? There you go.
it was suggested that Joni assume the title of president, and then you as vice president, just so as to avoid any appearances of conflict with your board position on
Kedco?
Mhm. So, Joni, are you, if you were nominated or a motion were moved, would you accept?
I guess I would be willing to serve.
Okay. Are there any other nominations for, let's see, we skipped right through president and vice president here.
Our secretary.
Secretary, yes.
So I'm
Would you
willing,
be willing
I'm
to
willing
do?
to remain in that position. So
Okay.
I'll make a motion that Joni would assume the role of president, Jan as vice president, and I would retain the role of secretary.
I will second that.
Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries.
All right.
You did a fine job as president.
Oh,
Yes, thank you, Jan. Thanks for your leadership for the past couple of years. It's
Okay, so do I go on until the next, you go, so you go, girl.
It's an immediate thing, yes, so. Okay, next on our agenda is the approval of the minutes from December the 9th. And at that meeting, only Doug, myself, and Jan were able to be present. So I need a motion from Doug or Jan, since you were both here, to approve the minutes as presented, or if there are any
Make a
corrections.
motion to accept the minutes as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor that were at the meeting signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. And there were no corrections noted. Okay. All right, thank you. All right, moving on. Next on our agenda, I think we will Alan Teal from KEDCO is expected. I've not heard anything
You
otherwise.
sent an email about 20 minutes ago saying he would not be available today.
Okay. All right. In that case, that takes that right off of the agenda, so that's
Can we
fine.
have some discussion around that? Though, before we move on?
Absolutely.
So were you able to communicate on,
I became very sick.
ah,
Been tested twice for COVID. I'm negative. Just want to make sure everybody knew that. And influenza A and B. I have bronchitis. So I've been through the winter, chest x-rays and everything. So bottom line is that I had to cancel the meeting. But I did hear, and this is not official, but I heard that there is some type of an update meeting that is held where Alan actually talks to the commissioner, Carrie Groninger, and I believe Marcia is in that meeting and maybe Sue and Mitchell. I don't know, but I'm hoping as newly elected president, I'll be invited to that. And that will take care of getting an update so that we're not, I just feel like we're left in a void when we say, yes, you know, the redevelopment commission supports something, then the council approves it, yet then we do not seem to get any solid factual information back on expenditures or where those balances are. We found out as a council that there was still a complete balance of money that was appropriated a year ago. We did not know that. So those are the kind of things that I would really like to make a solid attempt to keep that information in the forefront so that if I find out anything, I will send out an email to the Redevelopment Commission through Michelle so that we all know exactly where we are on requests
Well-
and what that money has or has not been spent for. And if there's no action, that's fine, but it would be nice to have that update.
Yeah, I've been attending those meetings with Marcia and,
Okay.
but nothing specific is ever, at least of all the meetings that I've attended, it's more of a, and so rather than me try and interpret in the past what I thought Alan was discussing, I thought it was better for him to, because things changed from the time.
Right, it's better for him to come to a meeting like this. I mean, it's just in general what's going on in the county, it's no specific details of any one thing.
Okay, how often are those meetings scheduled?
We try to do it monthly.
Okay.
Doesn't always work out.
Is there a set time and date?
I don't know, we got the next one set, I think we tried to move it and that wasn't gonna work, so I think we're kind of in limbo right now.
Okay. If you could add me to that invitation list, I would appreciate it.
I will let Alan know.
Okay. All right. And then my request to Alan will be,
Right, but I just,
Right.
I didn't want to
I
sit here and
understand.
not clarify that I was in those meetings, but
Okay.
we didn't discuss numbers or anything specific.
okay, so I will make an attempt to go into those meetings with specific questions. So in other words, if so much money has been allocated through whatever, whether it's redevelopment or council, I would still like to know. And then kind of keep an update on where we are with expenditures or if he's making any progress.
Right.
Sometimes things, as everyone here can attest to, but sometimes things look like they're moving forward beautifully, and then you hit a snag, and everything just gets put on hold for 6 months, 9 months. That's fine, but it would be nice to know that. And sometimes it's better if that's communicated to everybody, so everybody's on the same page.
Sure.
Okay, all right, and then did we want to talk about anything else with that? Do you have any suggestions for me as far as what response we want? There's just a lot of generalities with economic development, which I totally understand, but it would still be nice to get some specifics.
sure. Well, and as we spoke, didn't know, being that we don't have a general budget, we just have the TIF districts and their respective budgets, to approve a lump sum of money, not knowing where those studies would be done, didn't seem appropriate. So I think that the consensus was absolutely support the idea and support what KEDCO is wanting to do, but that we would make it more site-specific and tie it to a specific TIF rather than approving one lump sum. But if you're able to come back, or Alan were to come back in a subsequent meeting and provide greater details, then I think we'd certainly support reviewing our options relative to that initiative.
Okay.
Yeah, and hopefully we can reschedule that now that we're all back to, hopefully
Yes.
everybody stays healthy, so.
You know? Okay, so Michelle, if you would take that on to contact and reschedule that meeting. Okay, thank you. And speaking of TIFs, I think this brings up if we're complete with the KEDCO, there's nothing we can do for the industrial development funding request at this point because we are lacking information. So any other further business to come before the Redevelopment Commission? In light of, this will be, sadly, Michelle Puckett's last year as our auditor. She has been just an encyclopedia of information for the Redevelopment Commission for TIFs. She has worked diligently to keep us on track, but we will be losing her expertise in a matter of months. And I think it might be good for the Redevelopment Commission to consider retaining an attorney for the purpose of Redevelopment Commission questions. We have Baker Tilly as a fantastic resource, but I believe that there are local attorneys who are versed in TIF districts, versed in the lines of who is supposed to be approached for what, that could help steer us and keep us in our lane and keep us making decisions that are for the betterment of the county, and that also keep us from just doing what is right and the best for our county, our taxpayers, our businesses, our economic development as a whole. And I would like to have the Redevelopment Commission at least consider putting an attorney on retainer so that we have someone if we have questions, that we have a good source to call.
How do we pay Baker Tilly?
Baker Tilly in the past, depending on when they come to you and what topic they're discussing, the past 2 years when Andrew has come and discussed with you, Tiff, there's been no charge to that because he understood that we were going to have some new commission members, and just to update, because we have retained them in the past to work on different TIFs, that educational process, there was no charge for that. The only thing I would say about Baker Tilly, they're really good for the larger projects, the more in-depth projects when you're wanting to add on a TIF, but some of your more local, immediate questions, that I don't know that they would be available to attend your meetings, to really be that resource day in and day out that you may need going forward.
Okay.
Yeah, but Baker Tilly is always great if you have a question on a specific TIF that we're working on now, or it's an existing one. They've been fantastic for Jamie and I. I think one time last year when we had a specific TIF question, they did bill us. But when they came just to meet with you guys to inform you of TIF, there was no charge to that.
Okay.
And when they are specific TIF questions, then those charges go back to that TIF.
Yes.
Which is the same with this, if we were to put an attorney on retainer, then the charges for that, if we were to incur any expenses, would go to a specific TIF, which we, as the Redevelopment Commission, I believe, this is why we need an attorney, have the authority to allocate funds within that TIF for specific legal advice.
So not much different than with KEDCO's request, is that if we supported a project to determine the viability of a commercial project, we'd allocate it to that TIF, much like if we had the attorney on retainer. It'd go to
Yes.
that TIF. Okay.
Yep.
That was the question I was going to ask. Yeah. Do you have potential attorneys in mind, a list of them, or is that, how would a retainer, excuse me, how would an attorney be determined for purposes of retainer?
Would you put out an RFP or?
I have a suggestion. Michelle and I have talked about this open transparency this morning. In fact, and Adam Turner has served on this. So he is very well versed in what we face on the Redevelopment Commission. He's also very knowledgeable about TIFs. And he's very good at saying, no, I'm not going to do that because that doesn't fall under the scope of, this. I just think he would be a logical candidate. Yes, it would be nice if we threw it out there, but I really don't know that we want to take the time to interview, 3 different candidates when we have someone who just left the Redevelopment Commission,
Right.
who actually understands what our duties and responsibilities are.
And the county's attorney is probably already at
Our
capacity.
county attorney is not an option.
And I would say whatever your
He's the
discussion
commissioner's
is,
attorney, by the way. Sorry.
as far as
Clarify.
going forward and seeking out or interviewing different individuals, is the TIF knowledge is really critical to you guys specifically as a redevelopment commission, because that's the majority of what you do. You look to our community, you develop a TIF, you need to understand the ins and outs and finances and losses and gains that are associated with the TIF. And whoever it is that you choose to speak to, that's kind of the key component that in as far as what we have worked with different attorneys, the TIF component, there's only a handful. It really is almost a specialized field at this point. There's a lot of attorneys that know real estate, a lot of attorneys that deal with county government, but that TIF component, which is really the foundation on what you're built on, is a little bit more difficult to find.
And Adam Turner has not been approached. As I'm speaking to the media here, he has not been approached. So I would prefer that this wasn't public knowledge until we have, until the decision's made by the Redevelopment Commission and offer, I didn't even do an exploratory call. But I do know that he does practice law, and I would feel he would be a good candidate.
Well, Adam's knowledge was always very helpful
Absolutely.
at the meeting, so I would certainly not have any objection to him at all, and there would be less ground to catch up with someone like Adam, who's already, he's only been gone a couple of meetings. So,
Is that a motion? That
So there is
I
no-
approach
there is no
him?
specific protocol or policy that we'd have to follow as it relates to
No.
identifying.
As long as you find one that
Yeah.
meets your specific.
That's when we need one.
Okay, as long as we find someone who meets our specific needs. Okay, well then I would.
You would second that? Okay, all those in favor of me making the initial approach to Adam Turner to see if he is willing to serve as the Redevelopment Commission attorney,
and how
please
much-
signify,
and how much it's gonna cost.
right, yeah, and pricing. Please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Opposed? Any other discussion?
Your budget, will you be doing the additional appropriation?
The-
Or is that,
The money will come out of TIF funds. So
I'm sorry.
the money will come out of TIF funds if we are to incur any expenses. And Michelle will walk me through that.
Yeah, I say we would still appropriate those funds out of those individual TIF fund buckets when we get to that point.
So we can't split it up unless we feel that, the retainer, period. But then if we were working on something, then it could be specific to that TIF,
Right. Which,
right?
we will have total complete answers by the March meeting for
Okay,
those questions.
Yeah, because if we wanted to develop a new TIF district, there wouldn't be any funds in there to.
right.
So
Yeah.
I'll work with Michelle and we'll get that all lined up. And once I talk to Adam and see where we are, then I will come back in March and make it official.
Okay.
And then it can be public knowledge. If Adam is willing to take that project on.
Yeah, we
So-
don't know. Yeah,
Oh, yes, and Abel. I think he liked it, I'm just teasing. Okay, so, all right. Any other business to come before the redevelopment commission? Does anybody have anything? I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome Dan. Welcome aboard. It's great to have you. Would you like to share a little bit about yourself, since some of us may not be as familiar with you as others?
Yeah, I can do that.
Can you move your mic closer?
Yeah.
You're being recorded, sir.
Okay. I came here 30-some years ago from Denmark because I like our constitution and all that. And since then, I've been a small business owner. Started out with the amusement park in North Webster. I had this idea about making paddle boats that look like ducks and swans and such. So we did that, and that's now our main business. And we also own the strip mall where the post office is in North Webster.
Very good.
Stuck my neck out with a lot of politics over the years to believing in the Constitution.
You can't fail to mention that you were also the owner and the pilot of the Dixie
Yeah, that's true.
for years and years.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We owned it for 19 years, and I was one of the captains on there, which was a fun job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very, very neat attraction.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed it every time I've been on it.
Yes.
It never gets old. so,
It's
yeah.
important that it stays in our county.
Yes.
And I think, do you not serve in North Webster on a,
I'm actually the town president now. And I also do Boy Scouts and Lions Club in our town, so,
Very busy.
yeah.
Well, North Webster is well represented, so thank you, and thank you for
Thanks.
joining us. I'm from, just so that geography-wise, I'm from the Atwood area, even though we're not incorporated, so I take that part of the county. Jan, you are from
I'm right here in town?
Warsaw? Okay. Doug?
I'm at the southeast corner of the county down by Sydney.
I live in
I know, right, okay, so.
town attorney.
Ah, there you go. Yeah. Okay, very good. Well, welcome aboard again. We're very
you.
glad that you have chosen to serve. It's
It's important for our county.
it's very
That's my
important.
thoughts on it.
Okay, all right. Our next quarterly meeting will be March 10th at 1:30 p.m. here. And if there is no other business to come before the Redevelopment Commission, hopefully, for the March meeting, we will have on the agenda further discussion on retaining an attorney and all of the specifics involved in that. And I guess I have a request. Dan, have you had an opportunity, I'm not sure if you would have, to look over the information given to us last year by Baker Tilly on Redevelopment Commission and TIFs?
I looked at the things that you have emailed me. I have read through it pretty much, so.
I have not sent out that information
Okay.
that I do have the PowerPoint for, but I could certainly resend that out to the Redevelopment Commission, so that way you have that for your records.
I think that would be helpful for all of us for a refresher, if you would be willing to do that. Thank you, Michelle. All right. Again, Jan, thank you for serving as president and your willingness to serve as vice president. And thank you, Mr. Secretary, the tough job of the crowd. I know. Don't let it weigh you down. So, all right. Well, with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second?
Second?
All those in favor? Aye. If anybody's opposed, enjoy yourselves. This meeting is now concluded. Thank you.
The recording has stopped.